That's one of the reasons I'm so big on customer service and I harp on it because I've seen the effect of bad customer service and I've also seen the effect of when you have a difficult customer. And yeah, you can't make everybody happy. Some people are just always going to be difficult. But when you
Mhm.
go in with the mentality of let me try to win the customer over, you can win over a lot of those difficult people.
Hola, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Reliable HVACR podcast. If you guys are listening on the audio version, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever, remember to leave a review, help the show get out to more people. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to check out the live chat, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I really appreciate everybody for tuning in wherever you listen to this. And if you guys support the Reliable HVACR channel, remember I'm also on HVAC Nights, available on YouTube and any podcast platform. The full episodes and then clips are uploaded to our Instagram and TikTok. It's a live show every Thursday with two other guys. I got Jake, Cooling with Kraus. I got Curtis, the HVAC guy, two other big YouTubers, and we just kick back and take questions from the live chat, have some fun, joke around, and actually talk about our work week experiences that we've had with tools and different job sites. It's a great time. If you want to go check that out, remember to check out HVAC Nights. And I also want to thank a couple of the sponsors that make this show possible, like Jobber, my favorite CRM. If you guys need to get organized, better manage your business, Jobber is a perfect app for that. It's on your phone, it's on your tablet, it's on your computer, anywhere you have internet access, and you can invoice, quote, do your maintenance agreements, schedule jobs, get this customer hub where you can interact with your customers, send out reminders. It does so much for your business to help you free up your time at the end of the day. So if you guys want a free trial and discount, you can go to getjobber.com/reliable HVACR. Then we have VETO Pro Pack. I cannot tell you how many bags that I went through before finding out about this company with these high quality bags. Ever since I switched over, my bags have lasted so much more. I love the variety and the different uses for these bags. I mean, you can get creative with it. So like I said, go check out vetopropack.com. Go look for a bag for yourself. Right now they're having a spring promo. It's basically buy one, get one free. So take advantage of that. You won't regret it. So thanks again to our awesome sponsors. Thanks again to everybody watching, listening. We have good conversations with good people. That's the whole premise here. And I really enjoy what I do, having these people come on and tell their stories. I hope you guys are enjoying them as well. And thank you again for making this what it is. All right. So excuse my voice. I think my kids got me sick. But on this episode, we have Rich Ortega, also known as Rich in Kitchens, who is now on his own running On the Rock services. You guys know him, you know he tells it like it is, unfiltered. Everybody needs to be accountable for the work they do. I love his slogan that he used for his business, which is just do good work. I feel very strongly about a lot of the points that he brings up in this conversation. I think it's a good one about, being a good technician and then being in business for yourself, all the things that come with that. So I'll leave all his information in the description. If you don't already know him, he's on LinkedIn, Instagram. I think he's on TikTok too. So go ahead and go follow him. I appreciate all you guys and enjoy the episode. All right, Rich, how are you?
Good, bro. Tired, but good. How about you?
I'm doing same. I'm tired. I had a call that went through midnight the other night and kind of recovering from that one.
Okay, cool.
What
was it?
I got called out. See, I had the option to wait till Monday. It came in on a Friday, like after 5. I can't remember what time it came in. It was after hours, right? And they were like, if we have to wait till Monday, cool. Don't worry about it. There was an AC that they said it wasn't temping. So I get out there and all 3 of them have issues. They have 3 RTUs. So I couldn't just leave, right? I had to sit down and go one by one and try and figure it out. I still have that problem though of like my attention, my attention span, or whatever you want to call it, because I started with one and then I want to kind of like dig into like the other two while I'm like getting this one started or something like that. So then I'm like jumping around back and forth. So like it was just a nightmare of a call. And
Yeah.
I still have to go back because I got to quote out a new coil and possibly a compressor, but I got to double back and make sure, because that's one of those that we're not the only company that goes out.
Oh yeah.
So like I was kind of like, you know what, we'll take care of. I normally don't because of that reason, but I was like, let me go take care of you because they've been giving us more of the work lately,
Okay.
right? So like I was like, okay, I'll do it. But that one that I'm not sure about, I don't know if it's been overcharged because that was also like a symptom I had. So like I just got to go back because like at midnight my brain is like
It was
gone.
fried. Oh yeah, of course, of course.
So
Yeah.
I at least I got to shut them down, and then because if not, they were just short cycling. So if not, we could have killed the
It would have
compressors.
definitely would have been toast. Well, snap. Well,
Yeah.
hopefully they give you that work and then it just stays good, from here on out. I had
It just depends, bro, because like that one, we do maintenance or we just started. A lot of the stuff that I recommended, new compressors, blowers, like different things that I recommended, I can't remember them all, but I go back on my next trip, they're all taken care of. So some other company, like I gave them the work.
right. So you diagnosed it, told the customer what they needed, and then they
Yep.
got somebody else to do it.
They got the cheaper guy.
Nah, that's always fun.
So that's
Are,
why I don't always take the calls, right? And my dad has kind of made that stance, right? Like if they're only going to call us for certain, like when the other company can't go or something like that, then they're to us, they're not a priority either. If we're not a priority to them, they're not a priority to us.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, obviously I'm in a different stage of business than you are by a long shot, but I'm still, as I build customers, I'm balancing that out. Like I thought I was going to have to work yesterday because a customer called me, said an oven was down and then something else was acting up. So I asked her, did she need work, over the weekend? And she asked me if I charge extra on weekends. So I said, yeah, but considering their situation, I was like, if you need me and it's an emergency, I'm not going to charge y'all any extra. But if it can wait till Monday, I'll put you at my first call. So she ended up saying, no, just wait till Monday. But
Okay.
last week they just wrote me an $11,000 check to get all their gas lines and valves and all that stuff back in order. So I was like, I'm not going to take advantage of y'all if y'all really need me. Not that I think charging OT is taking advantage, but because of their situation, like if
Yeah.
y'all really need me. But at the same time, they were cool enough to be like, nah, as long as you see us Monday morning before anybody else, just wait till Monday. So that was, a nice not having to work.
I mean, that's always nice. That's always the balance because like I work for my dad, right? So he
Mhm,
started the business.
mhm.
We both do like different things. I know some of us are like, or some of you guys do everything, which is great, but like we split it. So he does the kitchen side, I do the cooking equipment, I do the HVACR stuff. But we've always talked about or had those conversations about the customers because just like a customer, goes around, kind of evaluates different companies, like we evaluate our customers too, right? It's like,
Mhm.
when do they call? How do they treat us? There's a list of things, right? And then you got to balance because my dad used to do a lot of favors, and
Mhm.
I didn't necessarily like doing, things for free or going out there when we don't have to. And I'm like, like an AC can wait most of the time.
Right.
To me, especially right now, I'm like, if it's a freezer, a walk-in box, okay, like I get that. I'll go so you don't lose product. So
Mhm.
I kind of prioritize my calls and whatnot. And I don't give anything out for free anymore. Like I don't care at this point. Like we've been screwed over by doing too much for
Mhm.
customers to where like it's kind of bit us in the ass. So there's always a balance. And yes, for like loyal, really good customers, you can do things like that. You can give them a break. I've done it too,
Yeah.
like knock off an hour, a half hour, whatever it is. The overtime is a big deal, which I'm surprised because we don't really charge a lot. I don't think it's
Mhm.
time and a half
Right.
for the overtime hours. And I'm like, are you really gonna cry just for like a little bit extra on the back end right there? Like, but they do, they do care, like
Yeah.
you said, because you brought up, they asked you about overtime, your rate and stuff, because they do care. And I'm like, do you need me now or do you need me, next week? Pick one.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
This podcast is presented by Local. Local works tirelessly to help HVAC contractors rank higher on Google. They use an attack methodology to make sure that contractors dominate their local service areas and increase their market share and generate higher revenue. Reach out to Local at localhq.com/reliable. Mention me or the Reliable HVACR podcast, and you'll get 2 months of SEO for free. SPECTROLINE leak detection, the highest quality and brightest fluorescent leak detection products on the market. Get the job done right with their 2-in-1 premium UV dye and powerful AC sealant Glow Seal. I've actually used it. You can extend the lifespan of your equipment, find and seal the smallest and hardest to find leaks. It works 24/7. Once it's in, it's always on. This product works when you're not there. The only focused leak detection company with success in many industries, because believe it or not, it's in most vehicles out on the road right now. So if you guys want to find out more, go to spectroline.com and let me know what your favorite leak detection method is.
No, I think that's the best way to do it. You definitely have to, like you said, kind of sort out your calls, like you said, what customers are important, what equipment is actually important. Like I even as a technician, like at my last job, for example, we would get certain OT calls, and I was like, yo, I'm not running that, even though I was on call, because I'm like, this particular customer, um every time their call comes in, it's always OT approved, and it's always at 4 o'clock or
Yeah.
later that we get it. And I'm like, yo, it's not our fault as a technician that either they're putting the calls in late, or more likely, because it's such a huge company, by the time their service call makes it up the chain and back down the chain, it's not our fault that it's always 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 4:30, after we've been killing ourselves all day. I'm like, and again, and two, it's just a gas station cooler. People can wait till the morning for cold Powerade. You tell me
Oh
somebody's
yeah.
walk-in freezer is down, their walk-in cooler is down, their main fryers are down, I'm there in a heartbeat. I don't care what time it is, but not for warm Powerade. And it's not even summertime yet.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's the thing, the priority. I had to learn that too, because like ACs can wait most of the time. The only emergency that I get on the AC side is like if it's a big restaurant, a busy night or something like that,
Mhm.
and the dining area is not working, and
Yeah.
they're calling us and they're like, man, customers are walking out, we're losing business. Can you come, like, at least come look at it, see if it's something we can fix on the spot, or let us know what's going on? And I'll do that. And I started showing that in my my videos, because I started posting a little bit more on the YouTube side, even like for just random calls that I get. Because there was one that I went out in the rain just to make sure it wasn't anything stupid,
Right.
right? Like, backed up drain, or something that I could just do really quick and get out. At least tell the customer I came out, I looked at it. If it's
Mhm.
something major, I'll be back, when the rain stops or in the morning. Um, there's a lot of that, because I wanted to go over that too, like the customer, the service part. And I know you're kind of big on that too, especially now. I mean, you started your own business and everything. Is that what on the rock? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, on the rock services.
Is there a reason you called it that?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's got nothing to do with crack. Don't worry.
Okay.
No, so for me, it's actually it's biblical. There's a
Mm,
passage in the Bible where Jesus talks about, if you build your life on sand, when the hard times come, your house is going to be demolished. But if you build it on the rock, on a solid foundation, then when the hard times come, um, it'll still stand. So with that, my belief is, if I build my business on the right foundation, then when hard times come, um, it'll survive. You know what I mean? There's basic business stuff that you got to do. Obviously, you got to watch your profit margin, your rates. You got to watch all of that stuff. You got to acquire a certain amount of customers. But then there's also things like, what I'm saying, treating people fairly. Put yourself in their position, and if you're doing this to them, if it was being reversed and it was done to you, how would you feel about that? And that's for customers, for employees, for vendors, for the whole nine. And there's also, working hard, doing the best job you can, excuse me, every time that you go out there. You know, yeah, sometimes you're tired, but that's not the customer's fault. You're in a bad mood. That's not the customer's fault, or it might be, but either then drop the customer if the customer's causing you that much of a problem. And if you're not going to drop the customer, then you need to give 100% every time you're on job site. So I just believe in doing stuff like that, that'll help me be successful. So I wanted to kind of incorporate that into the name of my business, that the stuff I'm doing is to build the business on a strong foundation. And I figure by keeping or incorporating that into the name, that can kind of always stay in the forefront of my mind.
Oh, it's a good way. It's a good reminder to
Mhm.
yourself because it's in the name.
Yep.
And I'm glad you clarified that because I was a little like, what is it about? That's awesome though. That's now I get the name.
Yeah.
And I had the same thing with my dad because my dad, started the company. He couldn't wait to get it off the ground and stuff. And then I helped him with all the like business cards, branding a little bit, logos and stuff like that before I even got into the trades because I was always like good with computers and editing and stuff like that. And he came to me with the name and I'm like, because it's Reliable Kitchen Services. So I was like,
Mhm.
Reliable Kitchen. I kind of didn't like the name, to be honest, when it started.
Right.
And I didn't get it. But like to him, he was just thinking about like people, like the customers. He's like,
Mhm.
we're reliable. We will be there. We're same day service, like all this stuff. And it's funny because later on, after I started working for him, any new customer that we got, they're like, man, you guys really are reliable. Like that was like my dad's like super proud of that, right? Like
Yeah.
we'll be there, we'll get out there because some companies will take like a week to get out there,
Mhm.
stuff like that. Or they go and like look at it and they're like, well, we got to order a bunch of parts. We'll be back. Like my dad was very, very, adamant about same day service, at least looking at the unit and
Mhm.
then telling the customer a breakdown of what's going on. Like that was his whole thing. I took that into what I do now. And, yeah, man, like I didn't get the name at first and then like it finally clicked. It finally clicked and now I incorporated for my stuff too. So,
Yeah, no,
um,
that's cool. And then what's cool too is somebody had mentioned to me, which I was like, oh, wasn't even thinking about this, but they're like, yeah, your name makes sense because when we call you, our equipment is like on the rocks, like it's going out. So they thought it was the phrase like, I'm here because your equipment is on the rocks. And I'm like, yeah, that works too.
that
What-
worked out.
yeah.
I did a little joke with mine, with my shirt, and my dad incorporated to the actual uniforms, where it's like, "I'm here because you broke something." I did it as a joke. A lot of people, it's a good conversation starter. Or they're like, "Hey, I love your shirt, this and that." But there was a handful of them, but we don't have that customer anymore. Um, that had a chain of restaurants here, and a couple of them like hated it. They would be like, "Why? That's disrespectful," and I don't know what. Like those were like real uptight. I was like, dude, just come on. Like it's a joke,
Yeah, for
let
real.
us help you out, whatever. I also want to thank DIVERSITECH. They simplify your work. They have everything a contractor needs to complete a job. That goes from equipment mounting, condensate, management, tools, maintenance chemicals, electrical components, indoor air quality, and much more. If I go look at my van, like half of the stuff, including parts, is from a DIVERSITECH branch. They have different branches under the same umbrella. More than likely, you're already using some of their products or tools. So go check out diversitech.com, and it's your one-stop shop for everything HVAC. But you never know how the customers react, I guess.
And you can't make everybody happy. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, whatever you do has to bring some happiness and a level of fun to you also. So
Yeah, and I had to learn that from my dad, the whole customer service side, because I was the type of guy that was like in and out. Just let me go do my job. Let me fix it, get out. I wouldn't really talk to the customer or the manager. And my dad is like the complete opposite. He goes in there, he's best friends with everybody. He starts up a
mm,
conversation. A lot of these people like will ask like him and the managers back and forth, like how's your family, your kids, how's the day going and stuff like that. And I didn't get it at first. And building relationships is a big deal. So like networking, goes like for everything. It's like between you and other technicians, if you ever need that help, you and other trades giving each other work, and
Yeah.
then you and the customer who's gonna hopefully continue to give you work, and like give them a reason to call you back. That's always the thing that I keep in mind now.
Yeah, 100%. That's something I've learned a lot throughout my career, and I've been doing this almost 20 years, probably like 18 years or something like that. Um, when I was in Florida, which is where I lived most of my life, there was a huge company in the area, and they had like the best accounts, they had the best technicians, and this is when I was still like early on. And then like I would go to a few accounts that they serviced, and they would be like, "Yeah, such and such company, man, they're great at what they do, but their techs are such jerks. They come in the middle of lunch and they want you to get out the way, and literally they're like, well, if you don't move, I'm leaving." So it just kind of clicked in my head. I'm like, okay, so I need to start having customer service. At least be polite, clean up after myself. One thing like I tell customers now, or I've told them forever, a lot of times customers will be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in your way." And I'm like, yo, like we're on the same team, right? So if you need me to move, I'll move. When you're done, I'll come back. I'm like, our goal is for your stove or whatever to be working. So that's all we got to do is work together. But when I started doing stuff like that, I started realizing I started getting sent more and more to the accounts that this other company was usually servicing. And what it turned out being, because I would get feedback, is, man, yeah, you fix stuff well. I was so at the time, but they're like, but you're just, you're polite, you're friendly. Like we feel good when you're here. You don't make us feel bad for being in your way and stuff like that. So I just kind of learned that pretty early on, and then I just kind of worked on I guess you could say perfecting it or improving it, and I got to the point where um they could send me, and this was like a few years back. I remember in particular there was this one manager at a chain account that the company I worked for serviced, and this manager, I don't know what was up with him. He was just like a prick. He would call at like 5 in the morning is when he would leave messages for service that he needed. And it was always, "You better get out here now," and this and that, and yelling and screaming. And it got to the point that I was like, let me go over to his place. Let me see if I can, win him over. And I had just finished listening to the book How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I said, let me see if this stuff is legit in the book. And I went over there, and I don't know if you've read or listened to that book, but it's basically the basic premise of that book is that people don't give a crap about you. They care about themselves. They care about what you do for them and how you make them feel. So I walked into this restaurant one day, and dude, like I said, was a prick, whatever. And he's like, before I walked in, I noticed a nice Jeep outside, and I don't know crap about Jeeps and Jeep stuff, whatever. But I'm like, this dude obviously loves his Jeep. So I walk in, and he's all with an attitude, huffing and puffing. I'm like, yo, is that your Jeep out there? His whole attitude changed. "Man, yeah, let me tell you, I just did this to it, and we took it out that place, we took it out the other place." Next thing you know, he's requesting me to go there every single time. They're like, "What did you do to him?" I'm like, "Y'all need to listen to this book that I just finished the other week. I made him feel like, like I actually gave a crap about him," which I hate to say it like this, but I really didn't. I mean, he was a jerk, but in his mind, I cared about him. I didn't talk about
Yeah.
myself. I let him highlight everything that was important to him, and he thought I was the greatest. So that's one of the reasons I'm so big on customer service, and I harp on it because I've seen the effect of bad customer service, and I've also seen the effect of when you have a difficult customer. And yeah, you can't make everybody happy. Some people are just always going to be difficult. But when you
Mhm.
go in with the mentality of let me try to win the customer over, you can win over a lot of those difficult people.
It's crazy. I was, like I said, fortunate enough to see it in person with my dad. Like he already
Mhm.
had that lockdown and stuff. So I had to change the way I did things. And that just goes back to me being like an introvert.
Mhm.
I was always good with people. I was just not, I didn't go in there and being like, "Hey, how's this or how's that?" Or, I just go
Mhm.
directly to the unit, work on what I had to do and get out of there. And I was good at that. But the relationship, customer service, I had to kind of learn that part of it. And it could be anything, like you said, like talking to, just checking in with the manager. I'll ask
Mhm.
them like, "How's business?" Stuff like
Yeah.
that, just to make them feel comfortable. And then it kind of helps ease like the situation or the environment for you too,
Mhm.
because then they'll relax a little bit. Talk to the cooks, talk to everybody. That's the main thing that I do is, the cooks
Mhm.
are there. They hardly ever see anybody else in their kitchen, right? And then you go in there and they want to ask you, some questions, or they want to chit chat, just, go along with it. It goes a long way. And they will tell you, or I like to ask them, like, what's going on with the equipment. There's things you can probe from them. And then we've had the instance, I know I always bring this up, but we've had the instance where some guys that are cooks, a few years later, they're managers, or they went to another restaurant and they want to recommend you because you were friendly with them and helped them out, and you were good with them. It's who they feel comfortable with.
Yeah, and even if they don't get to become managers, at least in mom and pop places, if you have the cooks and the everyday staff kind of advocating for you, like the guy that's using the stove every day, likes you, and he's telling, his boss, hey, when Adrian comes or when Rich comes, the stove is always working great. When they're done, everything they touch is good. A lot of times, they're going to keep using you. Why? Because the next guy comes in and be like, nah, he's not as good as reliable. That company, yeah, they're cheaper, but they never fix anything. It takes them 4 or 5 times. So when you can have the cook advocating for you, that helps you a lot. Like even the other day with this job I just finished up that I was talking about earlier, I had to redo some gas valves. I had to have my buddy who's an electrician redo some stuff on the panel. Like it was a pretty decent sized project. And then next thing you know, their hood fan goes out. And the owner's like, oh, well, does it have to do with anything, that you were doing? And before I said anything, the cook jumped in. That ain't got crap to do with him. That thing's been acting up. I told you already that we kept having to flip the switch 3-4 times for it to start. He just goes off on a whole thing of how it had nothing to do with me. And I'm like, cool. And then the owner's like, oh, all right, just, give me the new motor and, replace it fast as you can or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, that's a benefit. But again, the whole time there, I greet the cooks in the morning. Hey, bro, what's up? How you doing? Blah, 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 this, that, the other. And it's a new account. I mean, I've only been in business 3 weeks, so everything's a new account for me. But in a matter of 2-3 days, the whole staff there is basically loving it when I'm there.
Yeah, and we had that happen recently. As far as like like it's a long time customer, but the area manager, every now and then, I don't know why, they like to go and look for somebody to give them a chance to take our work. In my head, that's what they're doing. So they'll try somebody every now and then, and it's a customer that we had like when we started. Like we've had them forever, but they tried somebody else out, and this is like the area manager. So like the store manager was super pissed because they had a walk-in box, a walk-in freezer. It went down, whatever. They called this other company. They got the request. They go out there. They spent a couple of days on it. I don't know what was wrong with it because it had been working fine. So I mean, I haven't gone behind them to look at it or anything, but that it was down for a couple of days. They had to go and get parts a few times. I don't know what they were getting. And then I guess they fixed it on a Friday or got it going. It went down over the weekend and they couldn't get out there till Monday.
Oh,
and
wow.
Yeah, so like then for us, like I think they tried to bribe one of our guys to go out there because they have one of our guys, they have his number and they'll text us, the calls and stuff. And we try to stay away from, unless they really want to, and we can't cover anything that the previous company did, but we try to stay out of their work unless they're done with it and they're gonna give us the work, right? Because I don't want to be going in there and then they're coming back to do something and like you don't know who to blame and stuff like that. So they were trying to tell us, can you just come? Like the store manager was so pissed and they went on a tangent, like you were saying, like Reliable or Adrian or Charlie never have this issue. They always get my stuff working. Like I can count on them to fix it the same day, or I can call them, text them like whenever, and they'll give me a response and they'll send somebody out as soon as possible. Like they went off on the area manager, and this happens like every time. They always get so pissed because it's not their call, and they apologize to my dad and everything. Like the store manager, they're like, I wanted to call you guys, but they wouldn't let me place it under you. They sent it out to another company. Like they were so apologetic, and it's just like, they really wanted us, and sometimes that happens, but that goes to building relationships and then just doing good work and treating people good. Like they're gonna want you, they're gonna demand you.
So is it the same area manager that's been there that keeps trying to switch y'all out, or do they like get new area managers and then the new ones try to see, bring their old people in or whatever?
No, it's the same guy, but they have promoted some managers up. But the thing is, I don't know if this is like a common quality of them. They're all stingy. Like whoever ends up getting promoted, they were one of the stingy managers. So when they get up there, they're looking at numbers. So I'm assuming they're trying to go with a cheaper company or something like that. And then it bites them in the ass. Like we're not the most expensive. We're not the cheapest. We like to be in the middle. And even then, like, I feel like we give them a break a lot. And then this always ends up happening. And sometimes it depends on the area, because we do like 2 hours each way, east and west. So sometimes there's a area manager for a different region that wants somebody closer or something like that. So we run into that, which is understandable, but sometimes it's hard to find a good company or a good techs. So we've been called out 4 hours, 6 hours, I think even more, just because they cannot fix something and we have to go out there. And
you'll take a
we
call
charge
that far?
good. Wait, what?
You'll take a call that far?
Only for this one customer that we've had since the beginning. So like, I mean, like I said, there's different regions and stuff, but like we know most of the people in charge. They'll call my dad and kind of beg him and stuff like that. Cause they're like, even the hot side, that's what keeps us busy a lot too. There's not a lot of good hot side techs. So my dad is like one of like a few that can actually break a system down, figure out the hardest problems and all that. Like I've seen it firsthand. And like I said, I think that speaks volumes of people like 8 hours away that are trying to get him over there. And they've tried to convince him to like open up that way. And we're like, that's too far. Like we can't do that.
Yeah. Dang, that's pretty cool. That's impressive for sure.
And that's where I try to kind of model my work. Like that's where I get my work ethic. And that's where I get how to figure out things, stuff like that from my dad, because he's so like that. And he was an electrician before. He got into the food service industry, I think just on an opportunity that somebody offered him, right? And he didn't know anything about it, never worked on a fryer or whatever it is. And I remember, like, I was old enough to see him studying all the time. Like, he got in the books. He went to all the in-person trainings. I think they even offered to fly him out. He flew out a couple times to go to all these like Cleveland things and you know all the different steamers and ovens that had trainings. He went to everything. So when I started, that's what I did. I always read after school or read after work. Learned all this as much as I could on my own, and then took the work ethic in like he did. Like I saw everything that he did, and I kind of try to model myself after that. And I've gotten the same praise too, because people trust me now on the refrigeration stuff, because I'll break it down, you know, all the way down and try and figure out what's wrong with it.
Nice. Yeah, that's a common theme that I keep seeing, right? Like everybody who does really well put in the work on their own time to get better. That's what I did when I started. How long have you been doing this?
I'm going on 17 years.
Okay, so we started about the same time. So back when we started, it was binders. You know, remember all the service manuals came in them big binders?
I got them down here. You're not going to see them, but they're at the bottom of the shelf. I got my textbooks from school. I got like 4 or 5 binders down there of like different things. And then I don't know where I left them, but I had all the like the Manitowoc manuals you get and stuff. I collected everything.
That's what I did. I would go to the supply house, and if they were giving out the Manitowoc or the Hoshizaki manuals, I'd grab them. I would read the binders. I had the was it refrigeration and air conditioning technologies book, and I would ride around that in my truck. And then like if I ran into a problem, I would go into the book first and try to see what the book said about, you know, how to diagnose that problem or whatever it was. So yeah, basically it, you know, I've noticed that because that's one thing we've been keeping track of kind of mentally on. Yeah, that's the one. Yep. We've been keeping track of that mentally on our podcast. You know, just talking to different people, and everybody who's done good has done the same thing, has had to put in that extra work. My oldest son right now, he's been riding along with me as a helper slash, you know, kind of a trainee, and he's in the other room right now on SkillCat studying for his EPA.
Oh, nice. How old is he?
19.
So he did Okay, so you said you've only been in business for like not even a month, right?
Yeah, like 3 weeks, give or take.
And then you've been in around the same as me, like 17, 18 years.
Yeah.
At what point did you want to do your own thing? Like, not everybody wants to do that. Did you know you wanted to do that for a long time?
Um, yes and no. So like I don't know how to break it down really. Like I can't say it was always like 100% yes, I want to do my own thing, but the past few years in particular when I just started to get a sense that like, my way of doing stuff, is obviously different. And then, or I should say different than most companies and most technicians. I'm very, honest, I'm very transparent, I'm very customer service focused. Just a lot of different things that I started to not see in other companies.
And a lot of
Um,
other technicians or companies don't like that.
yeah. And I was like, I started just kind of think to myself, I'm like, I wonder if the way I'm doing stuff is right. You know what I mean? Can it be successful if I ran a business model based off of the way I think things should be done? And I just got kind of started playing with that thought in my head. And then on LinkedIn, I had one of my mentors, which I didn't even know him at the time. His name is Corey, and he was like, he just DMs me one day, and he's like, "Yo, you need to start your own company, bro. Like the way you think, there's not enough companies out there that run like that." And he's like, "And if you want," he's like, I own a company and I've been, running business for 40 years. He's like, "I'll mentor you because you need to start a company." And then next thing you know, I'm just starting getting DMs from random people like, "Bro, why aren't you, starting a company yet?" And then the same thing with one of my other mentors was like, "Bro, like the way you think, yes, that's how this business needs to be ran." So I said, "Well, you know what? I only get one chance to see if I'm right or not." You know what I mean? Like I only got a certain amount of time before I die, a certain amount of time before I can't work anymore. So I'm
Oh yeah.
like, yo, let's do it. Let's see what happens. I mean, if I got all these people in my ear that are successful at this saying, "Bro, where you're at, you need to do it." And my belief in the way I see things is so strong. I'm like, I know I can't sit here and work for other companies because I've seen how other companies don't care about their customer. And I can't have that frustration in me. I love the work that I do. You know what I mean? Like my wife says it's great because I can leave stressed and come home relaxed because that's how much I love the work that I do. I'm like, so I
Yeah.
can't have this frustration of like, I know this is the right thing to do, and y'all won't let me do it for, A, B, C, and D reason. So I was like, screw it, let me do my thing my way and see what happens.
Yeah, like and that's a good way to put it because I genuinely love what I do too. So I don't really have those stresses unless like it's been a long day. Obviously, it's very labor intensive and stuff like that. So there are hard days, good days, there's a mix of that. But I love what I do. Now, if you work for a company, it depends on the company because you could love what you do, you could be really good at what you do, but like it's the company part, your boss, your
Mhm.
coworkers, that kind of stress is what sucks. Or you might not enjoy it because of that environment situation. Not that it's like a toxic environment or anything like that. It's just like you get rubbed the wrong way. You're not allowed to do what you want to do.
Yeah. Well,
All
like,
that stuff.
yeah. So, like, just to give an example, and let me, preface this by saying I'm not trashing any company, but it's just, an experience. Um,
I was gonna say,
so
like, who are we calling out?
let's just say that this major company that I worked for, we could only get parts from a specific supplier for like 99% of the parts, right?
Yeah.
And I would be like, because of the way I came up in the industry, I know every part supplier. So it's like they're out for months. But I'm like, if we could order from this guy, I could have the part in 2 days and have the customer up and running. But you're telling me I have to let the customer wait because the main company we have to buy from doesn't have the parts, even though these other people have them. Yeah, that's just the way it is. I'm like, for real. Like I went to a service call one time, and it was to change a door heater for a walk-in freezer. And when I look at it, I'm like, okay, 2 weeks, that's not bad. So I walk in and I'm like, they got a brand new door on this walk-in freezer. Like, how did they get a brand new door if they approved this door heater 2 weeks ago? I look,
Mm,
it was a year and 2 weeks. We were waiting on the part a year and 2 weeks since the order was approved. And I'm like,
dang.
I could have told you 5 different suppliers that we could have had the part from probably 3 days after it was approved. Yeah, that's just not how we do it. We have to order 99% of our stuff, from this place. And then like one time, I was at a customer that they service, and I forget what I was working on, probably a fryer. And the guy asked me, he's like, "Hey, you know anything about our freezer? We're waiting on a part." So I'm like, "Well, what is it?" So it's a fan blade for a heat craft evaporator. So I look it up and I'm like, Tech was out here 2 weeks ago, orders it from our main supplier and orders it ground shipping. And I'm like, I call, United, and they're like, yeah, of course we got those in stock. And I'm like, that's where I think I made a post not too long after that where I kind of went on a little rant where I'm like, yo, like, why aren't we teaching technicians that you can go locally? You know what I mean? And why, because you got the
Yeah.
whole OEM push, right? And I'm not talking about modifying equipment, but there's OEM, you know what I mean? Said because because the bag says South Bend or the bag says Heatcraft or the bag says whatever, they didn't make that part, you know what I mean? But because of the way certain things are structured in the industry, it's like, oh, well, I have to order this, Heatcraft blade from this exact, supplier, and we got to wait 3 weeks. And I'm like, well, now you've got insufficient airflow. You probably got flood back to the compressor. I'm like, when you could have went 15 minutes up the road and got the same exact, fan blade, but it says this name instead of Heatcraft on it, and the customer could have been up and running. So stuff like that really started to get to me. And I was talking with one of my former coworkers the other day, and I'm like, bro, like any part I need, I have it now within like 3 days because I got 5 different suppliers I could pull it from. So simple stuff like that. To me
Yeah,
is
because
is
I'm comfortable going with our one main supply house, but like lately, like they've been really bad about ordering some of the stuff that I need. I'm gonna go next door and go down the street and go to another supply house. Like that's something, right? Like the downtime for the
Mhm,
customer. Like if you can get them up and going. Like I said, a lot of companies that we're taking business from is because they took too long to get back either
mhm,
getting parts or just getting to them. I mean,
yeah,
my dad was very like adamant about same day service, all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of how we built our company up. And I'm I try to go OEM if I really need to. I'm
mhm,
not against universal. I have universal parts on my truck that will get me out of a pinch. And most times that is a permanent repair for me.
mhm,
If it matches up, everything matches up correctly, that's fine with me, right? Usually I only go OEM if it's like if the universal or aftermarket won't fit in a certain area
mhm.
and it has to be OEM. Like that's when I go OEM. Because a lot of times I've had this conversation with plenty of techs. It's like, why are we gonna not only wait for the part, right? Because most of the times you got to order these OEM stuff. A lot of times it's like 3 times the cost or whatever it is, and then you can go get a universal for a fraction of the price, put it in quicker, get them up and going. Customers going to appreciate that way more. So I think you do got to pick and choose. I already kind of have a list of like, okay, this one won't take a universal. Like we got to go
Mhm.
OEM, but options, dude. Like you can't be so
Yeah.
stubborn to go with
The
one.
and a lot of times, I mean, maybe the companies themselves can be stubborn on that policy, but I think there's a lot of there's a big lack of education in our industry because I've seen, for example, um, like technicians order like a switch. Oh, I didn't have the, let's just call it South Bend switch on my truck. I'm like, bro, but you got 4 switches that are the exact same size, the exact same rating, and the exact same application. And they were like,
Yeah,
oh, I thought it was special because it was a South Bend oven and a South Bend switch. And I'm like,
yeah,
that's not how it works. Or like, I was working on a grill one time and it needed a valve, and the valve was like $1,900. It would have been for the customer. And I'm looking at it and I take the part number for the valve and I go to a website from a supplier that I used when I worked with, smaller companies. And I type in the thing and it gives me all the alternate part numbers. So I start looking up alternate part numbers and I find the same exact valve that would have been $1,900. I find it for the customer for $900 through the same part supplier, but one was this OEM, the other one was the other OEM. I'm the type, I'm not gonna punish you for the name brand that you bought. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not
Yeah.
trying to always find the cheapest route for the customer. That's not my goal. I mean, stuff costs what it costs, but because you bought a whatever brand grill and they think that their valve is worth 1900, I'm not going to make you pay 1900 when the other company who has the same exact grill with the same exact parts thinks their valve is only worth 900 and it's the same exact, Robert Shaw part number, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, I've dealt with that several times. And some of it just comes with experience, because I've had to go into supply houses, especially nowadays when they're just alternating the kids at the
Mhm.
front desk and the ones that are helping you out. They try to get me one, and I'm like, no, but I know this one works. Can you look up,
Yeah.
kind of tell them to look up some other stuff. But that just comes with experience too, because I've gone to, and I've learned that too from my dad. Like I'm fortunate where I go and it's like you said, like a switch, on and off switch. They all do kind of the same thing.
Mhm.
Um, he sent me to, we have like a Granger here locally. He's like, just tell him you need, give them the ratings, give them this, take any switch they got as long as it fits, right? So,
Mhm. Yeah.
just get what you need. And we've dealt with that a lot. And sometimes I gotta do my own research too. I like to do that, look up part
Yeah.
numbers on my own, because I used to uh, rely on the supply house,
Mhm.
and sometimes they get it wrong too. So do your own homework and look up parts on your own time too.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I've done a lot of that. And I mean, it makes you a better tech all the way around, you know what I mean? And I don't
Yeah,
know. I
reading
just
reading like the parts breakdowns and all that.
exactly understanding how parts actually function, which I notice a lot of people don't actually understand the function of a lot of parts, which is why I think we have, so many parts changers in this industry.
Yeah, there's a, and I've seen that too, where they're like replacing part after part, and then they finally get it working just because like they got lucky on one of them.
Yeah.
Um, but that's a fine line too, because like sometimes, like we have everything going electronic now. I've seen guys that learn to do now the soldering, the board
Mm.
soldering, right? Because like sometimes something will pop, you got to
Yeah.
resolder it. That's cool. I would love to get on that train too, but sometimes replacing a part is just cheaper
Oh yeah.
than doing a full blown repair, right? But I give my customers the option. I'm like, do you want to try and fix this, or would you just want to get a new one? You get warranty, let them
Yeah.
decide.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, sometimes, changing parts is in the best bet for the customer. But, yeah, and sometimes, you have to change this to know if other stuff is damaged, which I'll let the customer know that
I just had that
a lot of
happen.
times. I'm like, look, this is bad for sure. You may have other stuff that's bad, but I don't know until I replace this thing. And then I tell you, look, this thing is $800, whatever it is. Do you want to do it? Give them that option. Or what I'll do too is, um, how you were saying, like sometimes it's cheaper to just actually change the parts than do a repair. If I'm doing something like, say, I'm having to replace the pillow bearings on an exhaust fan, and this is a one I had, a while back. I had to do the bearings, and because the bearings busted, the blower wheel busted also. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, I'm doing the bearings, the shaft, and
Yeah.
the blower wheel because it's faster and cheaper for the customer for me to put my saw in there, cut everything up, rip it all out, and then put everything in brand new. So yeah, there is a time where parts changing is in the best interest, but you got to do it when it's in the best interest for the customer, not because you're being lazy.
Yeah, I was gonna say lazy is a whole other thing. I just had that happen, and anytime you have a system that goes down and you're not sure, right? I mean, it sometimes they're not simple. Just be honest with the customer. Like tell them everything that's going on. They'll appreciate that way more than finding out later that something else went wrong with it.
Hmm.
And I used to feel like embarrassed to do that kind of stuff, right? Because I'm like, well, I'm the technician. I should know what's going on. I should be able to fix it, right? But like sometimes you don't know. Like you said, you fix one thing and then you find out something else goes wrong, which I had happened that night that I was working till midnight. I got there and the fan motor, you could hear it just buzzing. It's locked up, whatever. I'm like, okay, let me replace that and I'll move on to the one that's short cycling, right? I replaced that one, got it going, only to find out that it's low on charge, and then now that one is short cycling. So it was running. It was at night, but it was running because without the fan, the head
The
pressure
pressure
was
was
high
up.
enough.
Hmm.
So then after that, it was tripping out on low pressure. I'm like, damn it. So like I did the motor and everything, and then I had to tell them, well, you got another issue. We got a leak in the coil. So it happens.
Yeah, yeah, of course. It's always gonna happen.
So how's business for you? I know it's only been 3 weeks, but have you been staying busy?
Yeah, I mean, I a lot better than I expected for sure. Uh, yeah, I thought I was going to be out pounding the pavement every day trying to get customers, and I got a lot that because of my content. Like when I announced I was going on my own, I started reaching out to people I was connected with on LinkedIn, and they're like, "Yeah, we'd love to give you a shot." And then I started having people message me. They're like, "Hey, now that you're on your own, we'd love for you to, pick up our work in your area." So I have been staying pretty consistent. I mean, I've run calls almost every day that I've been on my own. And like I said, one of them was over 11 grand. That same customer, like my first week, spent 20 something hundred with me, getting their one of their ice machines up and running. A local chain here gave me some gave me their accounts, and I ended up doing like my second day doing a $2,500 HVAC repair for them. So yeah, it's been good. I got no complaints about it for sure.
Well, if you can stay busy, that's always good. I remember when we started, it is well, my dad had connections from before too. So like I guess those were like old school connections, like just from work.
Mhm.
It's good now to kind of be out there, and I kind of got on the LinkedIn train because of you guys too, like you and Pat and Jason. So I'm on there now too, but like just networking on
Mhm.
social media, like yeah, like I mean I do it for fun and all that. I do it for content. I get free tools every now and then, all that's cool. But like I worry more about like connecting with people. So like I'll talk to technicians, I'll talk to manufacturers, I'll talk to anybody on
Mhm.
there, especially like on LinkedIn, just to build that up. And then you never know what can come from it. So that's good that you had those online connections that kind of came through, once you started.
Yeah,
Um,
which it blew me away because I mean, like, I knew I was connecting with people, and I knew people liked a lot of the content I put out there. I just didn't realize that people were, I don't want to say they were waiting for me, but it's like when they seen me go on my own, they were like, all right, cool, we need to go this route, especially because in my area is a pretty busy area. It's, I've only been here going on 3 years now, but from what I understand, over the last 5 years, it's exploded quite a bit. And there's only like three real service companies in the area. Then now there's me, and now there's another one that kind of started moving in. So there hasn't been many options for people in this area. And with that, having two of the companies that are here out of the three being two major companies, it's kind of like, well, take us how we are, or screw you kind of attitude that they tend to
yeah.
have. So customers are like, yes, now we've got somebody who's got a different attitude. We got different options. Somebody that actually, cares about our work and whatnot. Like I had manufacturers reach out to me, and some of it was based on, I guess I had made a post that I said, I feel like it's a service provider's job, to kind of protect the reputation of the manufacturer. I'm like, now, I'm not gonna lie for anybody, you know what I mean? Don't
Yeah.
expect that. But sometimes or I've seen, I should say, a lot of guys walk into a place. Well, the problem is you bought a piece of junk and this and that and the other. And I'm like, dude, like that's not your job. Like you don't got to tell them they bought anything great, but how about you just shut up and do your job, fix it and walk out the door. You don't need to start bad mouthing people. And like I was having a conversation with a manufacturer the other day, and I'm like, the more trips a technician has to go out to fix your thing looks like junk. They don't see that you're
Yeah.
sending an incompetent technician out there. They think, oh, I bought an $18,000 thing and it doesn't even work right. And it's like, no, you sent a guy out there who's, the manufacturer sent a guy out there who's changing a bunch of parts that are unrelated to the issue. But at the end of the day, I'm like, it's hurting you guys as a manufacturer. So, I mean, stuff like that, they obviously like to hear. So,
Yeah. I mean, that's all like the right or the proper installation,
mhm,
service, maintenance, like that all goes into the lifespan of the equipment or how it operates, stuff like that. So I mean I can see why that happens. And then like you can only base it because like people ask me about like what brand is better, and I'm like, all in all they're all mostly the same unless
mhm,
there's a really bad one, that every now and then that happens, but for the most part, they're all the same. They all have similar components. Like you touched on earlier, like the brand name doesn't really mean much anymore. You go look up, like we have a Goodman here. You go look up Goodman. That's under an umbrella of its own with other brands. Ream, Rude, you know. Now I pay attention to my parts because a lot of my parts are for certain like ice machines or this and that. And it's a Robert Shaw, Dan Foss. They're all under the same umbrella. Just different names. So it's all the same stuff. It's just, was it installed right? Was it maintenance? Because a lot of that will kill compressors, kill, you know, tons of motors, you know, stuff like that. That's why that stuff gives out, is because it's not maintained properly, or, you know, something like that. So I get that point.
Yeah, 100%. I had a unit the other day, RTU, where I'm diagnosing it, and I'm like, this thing's got a, you know, bad expansion valve is what it looked like to me. And the manager's like, you sure it's a bad expansion valve? I'm like, I'm 99% sure. Why is that? He's like, we just had it changed 4 weeks ago by another company. I'm like, ooh. I said, well, you know, here's my thing. I said, I would call them out to look at it if they just changed it 4 weeks ago. I said, but here's my thing. I said, they could have damaged it during installation. They may not have, you know, charged it properly. You know, they could have had moisture. I explained to him the different reasons why, after having it replaced, you know, it could be acting up. So he contacts his facilities department, and they're like, yeah, just have it changed again. We're not going to call the other company back. And I'm like, now there may, again, I told him, now there may be something else going on. I'm like, but based on the symptoms, I'm going to guess it just had an improper installation. But exactly like you said, if things aren't done right in the meantime, whether it's the installation of the unit, change out of components, maintenance, you are going to have a bunch of issues regardless of you know, what the brand name is.
And I think, I mean, customers might not realize it because they're just, I mean, we have some that also take, like anything big, it has to be like multiple bids, you know, stuff like that. So they might not understand this, but like, if you can keep the same company or the same person over the years or whatever it is, like they're going to know the history. They're going to know that they did it the right way, or whatever it is. Cause like when I have to deal with another company that was there previously, like you said, and I find something wrong, whether it's a compressor, a TXV, something like that, I'm like, well, I don't know how it was installed. Like I try, and I have, to your earlier point, tried not to say too much, because I know like customers don't like hearing like you said, the junk that they got or the bad work that the previous company did. Like they don't like hearing all that. So I try not to lean into that, but like I just tell them, I don't know what was previously done to it. I don't know the previous cause or solution they had. I'm just here right now. This is what I found. If I do the repair, I'm going to do it this, and I'll kind of explain to them a little bit, you know, pulling the vacuum, you know, all that, and making sure we flow nitrogen. You try to explain them a little bit just to reassure them. But that I've run into that so many times. I just don't know how it was done before. So like you said, if they burned up that TXV, I've seen that happen before too. They could have screwed it up, or the power hit, or something like that. And you know, you just, when you do your work, just make sure you're doing it the right way, and you should be good.
Yeah, that's one thing I do. Make sure I do my stuff the right way. And I've always been one to not, you know, to try my best to not trash the last company
in
that
your
was
head,
there.
you can, like, you're gonna be like, man, they did such a shitty job, but
Right.
say it out loud.
Yeah, because I mean, I've had times where in my head I'm like, oh my God, they were so obviously wrong. Like, what were they thinking? But what comes out of my mouth is, well, see, I don't know what they saw when they were here. I
Yeah.
just can tell you what I see based on what I'm seeing now. And a lot of times the customer's like, well, I can almost guarantee you that they didn't know what they were doing. And I'm thinking, you're 100% right, but you'll never get that phrase to come
Yeah,
out
I
of
was
my
gonna say,
mouth.
you let them say that.
Exactly.
And that's happened to me too. And I just recently had one. I don't think I posted it. I should post it. It was a walk-in cooler and freezer for a buddy of mine, because he was a project manager trying to get me in there, because he found us on Facebook, and he recognized me. I went to school, like high school with him, and I think I went all up growing up. I went to school with him. So he's like, "Oh man, I forgot your dad had a company," and then he called us out, but they needed the bid like basically that day. I was like, I can't do that. And he wanted he wanted carrier units. I wasn't set up to do carrier, and carrier gave me the runaround. So like there was all this stuff, and we were busy at the time. So I was like, dude, I'm sorry, I can't, you know. And then like I talked to him recently to kind of catch up and kind of explain to him, because I kind of did get busy and just not get back to him. And he's like, oh, thanks for, and that was another thing I'm trying to work on that more. He was like, thanks for reaching out, explaining that. And then he started giving me work again. So I went back to that walk-in cooler and freezer that he initially wanted us to. They think they claimed it under insurance or something, so they wanted the whole thing ripped out and replaced. So I get in there, and it's a really narrow walk-in box. They're side by side. It was a single fan evaporator, super small unit, you know, nothing crazy. I get back there. For one, the doors are huge. I don't know what kind of intercom or inner something doors. I've never heard of them. I don't know where they're from. The label had some scratches on it, like if they didn't want anybody to find them or something. I don't know. It just looks sketchy from the outside.
Right.
I get in there, and they shoved a 2-fan evaporator in sideways. So like it's super narrow, and it had a single fan. Now they shoved the 2-fan, and it has to be sideways. The thing wasn't draining. It's not cooling properly. The freezer, you walk in there and it's all the frost in the air. Like it's all screwed up. And I'm just like, I want to say so much. And I'm like, look, I'll just, whatever you have problems with, I was fixing the drain. Like whatever you have problems with, let me get through that first. And then I'll give you a list of things that it needs, right? Because at that point, they're not going to buy a new box or a new system. They got what they got.
Yeah.
Paid an arm and a leg for it. The company is not even from here. They're out of town, so they weren't going to come back and service it anyway. So that's what they got. And that was just one of the ones. Like I'll post it, and I've said it before on like I think on a story or something, and people message me like, "Holy crap, what is that?" Because of like the sideways evaporator, and I was like in my head, I'm just thinking the whole time, this is the dumbest install I think I've ever seen, right? And I had to keep it to myself.
Yep. Oh yeah, yeah. I would say so the only time I told the customer that their installer didn't know what he was doing. Like this was crazy. So it was a company I used to work for like several years back. Went to a warranty call for a deep fryer. Like, yeah, the fryer won't light. So when I go to try to light it, you know, you push in the button, the pilot button, and I push in the button, and it sounds like somebody turned on a faucet. I'm like, the heck? That don't make it. Turn it off. Push the button again. Sound like somebody turned on a faucet. I'm like, the hell's going on? Dude, the installer hooked up a water line to the gas connection on the fryer. That one I did tell the customer, yo, you hired a moron to install this thing. But I mean, at
How
that
the hell
point,
does that happen?
bro, no idea. I don't know if they did it themselves or what, which that's another thing I have done over time, which probably goes against most of the stuff I talk about. But when I know the customer did it and they don't want to admit to it, I'll be like, bro, what kind of idiot did you have working on this, bro? Like, I don't know who was working on this thing, but bro, they got no idea what they're doing. But
yeah, I mean, every now and then you see that or something like that. That's crazy. Hooking up a water.
Yeah, bro, I don't know how that happened. Like that's crazy. But imagine tripping out. Like every time you press the pilot button, it's like water. What? Water? Because like there's nobody else in there, you know, like me and then the customer, but nobody cooking, nobody doing nothing. Like, where's this water coming from? That was crazy. That was funny.
So okay, so your kid works with you. Is that like, is he working with you full time, or how's that?
Yeah, so he's done a few different things. So like he's only 19, so he started in retail working at Ace Hardware. That was kind of like his high school job.
Okay.
And he was working with a carpenter. He wanted to get into auto body, which he's still not 100% sure if he wants to get into auto body or not. But he basically asked me, he was like, look, you know, I'd like to come work with you if you can hire me. He's like, you know, just pay me enough to cover my expenses. He still lives at home, so he's got barely any expenses. He's like, and let me see how it is working with you. So I'm like, yeah, you know what? It wasn't in my budget starting out, but I'm like, well, let's see what happens. Let's see if we can make it work. And so far he's been liking it. He's very
So
very
that
hands-on.
wasn't planned at all.
No,
Oh, okay.
I didn't know. When he was younger, he had said, he might want to do what I do, but then as he got older, he was like, "No, I want to do auto body," and I'm like, "No, that's cool. Do what you do." Like I'm third generation doing this, but again, I
Okay.
like it, so whatever. But I'm like, I'm not gonna tell you you got to do what I do, especially because I'm starting my own business. You don't have to come work for me. But yeah, on his own, he picked it up, and then we were talking like EPA and all that stuff, and then he's like, "Oh, how do I get that?" So I was like, "Oh, here, I'll pay for Skill Cat for you to go on there and study in your free time." And yeah, he's been enjoying it so far.
Yeah, it's like with me. My dad never like pressured me to get into it either, or anything like that. Like I said, he got into the food service. I saw that, and then he started his own business because of some conflict at work. But like he always said that was like a blessing in disguise, because he was always afraid to do it. And now he's on his own. He loves it, and I just never thought of it at the beginning. I was into computers and other stuff, and then like they mentioned it one time that they needed a refrigeration guy. So then I looked into it, and I ended up loving it. Like I'm glad that I'm in it now. I have a middle brother that tried it, quit. He quit the same day because he wasn't into it. He works at the. He's been at the HEB here forever. Like he's worked his way almost all the way up, and he makes a good living there. He does. He's very creative. He does like photography and stuff
Oh, okay.
on the side. Like he does all these other ventures that he has. He lives very well, so it wasn't. It just wasn't for him.
Hmm.
My youngest brother, I forgot what he wanted to do, but then he started like tagging along, and he's more of a hands-on type of guy, like getting dirty. I think now he has like these hobbies that he picked up, like he does like woodworking and building stuff. So it's in him to do it, and he's been loving it. So he's our. I kind of throw him the work that I don't want right now. So like he's our maintenance guy and stuff like that. So I like
Right.
to be doing like the more complicated stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the things I like about having my son with me, besides the fact that he's my son, he's very much like me. So he was working for he was working for a place doing, like helping out a carpenter type thing. And he said the guy just was doing crappy work. And he said the thing is that the guy would be like, "Yeah, I could have done that better, but I just didn't." And my son would be like, "Well, why don't we fix it real quick? It wasn't that hard to do to begin with." And the guy was just like, "Nah, it's already done. We'll leave it like that." So my son basically told him one day, he's like, "Bro, like I can't put my name and my face to crappy work." He's like, "Even though I don't really know carpentry, like if you're sitting here knowing you're doing crappy work and you're not willing to fix it and I'm willing to fix it with you," he's like, I just got to be out." So even working with me, that's one of his things. He's like, "I know, he knows my standard of doing stuff." And he's like, "I can work with you because I know if we put our hands on it, we put our names on it, it's going to be done the absolute best that it can be done." So to me, that's pretty cool because you know how hard it is to find people like that um, day to day that are willing to do a good job on anything. So that's
Well,
been enjoyable.
yeah, that's why I would butt heads with the people local here. Like I had the same type of mindset with my dad, like how he works. And my youngest brother is also he my dad and him get into arguments at work, but it's because my brother likes to do things he's I don't want to say he's OCD, but he's more into that type of deal. Like he wants to get everything right the first time. And he does things a certain way. My dad's like, let's keep moving, let's go. Like he wants to get it, he wants to get work done. But we all bring something similar to the table. Like one of the things I was going to mention is that you have to have like a special kind of motor to be in this trade. You're constantly moving. There's no wasted time. Like you got to be doing something the whole time. Like that's how we work, and I think that's how you can be like successful in this business is and it's built for people like us because I cannot sit still. I like even here like I find more stuff to do all the time, even at the house. Like I'll do things around the
Mhm.
house. I'll do things here and there. I do this whole podcast now. Like I always find things to do because I hate just sitting around. So
Mhm.
that's the kind of people that are in this trade. It could be like an ADHD thing. I don't know, but like you got to have a special motor for this trade.
Yeah, I always say it's an ADD thing because even like when I would do projects around the house, like I swear I would start with the smallest project and like, oh, I just gotta, replace this one thing. And then I'm like, wait, but that thing's not straight neither. So then I'm
Oh
cutting out
yeah.
that whole thing. And before you know it, it's like from replacing, one piece of baseboard to redoing all the baseboard and throwing up some crown molding and rehanging the door like some crazy crap. Because I'm like, yeah, nope, it's just not all gonna line up properly anymore. Keep going. But it is a good trait to have. And I think especially in business in this industry or any similar type trade, to just like you said, have that drive to keep going, to keep finding stuff to do, especially with what we do. Because one of the things that trip me out is, the way my brain works. I can go in a restaurant for one service call and I can walk out with four. And it
Yeah.
always tripped me out working with guys that they go to the restaurant and they only have the one service call. Like, yes, sometimes, or most times, whatever that happens. But if you keep your eyes open and you pay attention, you'll find multiple things to fix. Like you said, you went out there, AC not working, and you're working on all three ACs at one shot.
I was like, I couldn't leave. I couldn't leave knowing that the other ones weren't working. So yeah.
Yeah.
But that happens to me too. That happens to me often. And the only thing that ever stops me from doing that is when the customer just tells me like, no, I'm not paying
Mhm.
for that or something.
Yeah.
Because I'm not working for free. But like
Yeah.
if I'm there, I go down and I'll tell them that exhaust fan is not working, or that belt doesn't sound good. This compressor doesn't sound good. Like, do you want me to investigate? I'll do that. Like I can be up on the roof like all day
Mhm.
and be okay with it. And that takes a special kind of person too, because like we are very like labor intensive. You're in the sun all the time.
Mhm.
Of course, now I try to take care of myself. Umbrella, sun hat. I keep my arms and hands covered.
Mhm.
Try to have the right gear because you can be out on the roof like all day. And hats off to the guys that do the attic work. That
Yeah.
is one thing I'll never do.
Me neither. Me neither. Period, bro.
I can
Period.
be on a roof. I can be in a kitchen getting stepped over, stepped on. I'm cool with that. I'm not going to do the attic.
Yeah. I will take fryer grease running down my back by accident before I go into an attic any
Oh
day of
yeah.
the week, bro.
Have you
Any
ever
day.
dropped anything in a fryer?
Yeah, I've dropped screwdrivers and stuff, or dropped a wrench or something. Just I have this weird thing where stuff just falls out of my hand for like no apparent reason. So like I'll have like a pair of pliers and I'm going to reach for something and then they just decide to take a bath in the oil.
So I just asked because I had a guy who dropped. I don't know how it happened twice, but he dropped his phone twice in a fryer. I was like, dude, come
Uh
on, like, and we have to replace it. I'm like, dude, you're killing me here.
I've been real close. Thankfully, I don't think it's ever happened, but a few times I've almost dropped my cell phone. You know that there's always that space between the walk-in cooler and the wall that you can't reach into, but like
Oh
you're on
yeah,
top of the box. The amount of times I've dropped my phone and it slid that way, and I've had to kick it, like off, not off the box, but kick it to the side or something. I'm like, oh crap, that would have sucked.
yeah, man. We yeah. I try not to lose anything. I'll lose a tool here and there, but that dude, I was like, come on, like I can't be buying you a phone every week.
Yeah, we had a guy that I used to work with that he sent accidentally. I don't know how you accidentally do it, but he accidentally sent his iPad through a conveyor oven.
Oh
I
shit.
guess he set it on the conveyor, forgot it was there, and then got the oven working.
um, yeah, man, and then I don't know. Like we've been busy too, and summer hasn't even hit yet. Is it warm where you're at?
Warm-ish. I mean, I think it was warmer this time last year than it is right now, but I don't think we've actually reached the 80s. I think we've been in like the mid to high 70s, and it hasn't even been consistent, which is weird. But I mean, it's been nice weather, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it heating up just so I can get more work.
Yeah, I mean, work is gonna come. I already feel very tired and busy, but I don't know. Maybe it's because I've had a couple of long nights with work, but I don't know. I feel like I'm feeling it a little bit more now. I'm getting old. I need to
Hmm.
get in shape again because it goes back to that. Like I said, it takes a special person to do this, but you got to take care of yourself too. Because I don't know. I think I've been going up and down ladders a little bit too much recently, and my knees are not working as good as they used to. And personally, I hate that because my mind races so quick, and sometimes my body won't keep up because I've had a long day or whatever. So
Hmm.
I mean, honestly, you gotta, keep covered, stay hydrated, take a break when you can, because like that just frustrates the hell out of you. And take care of your body.
Yeah, I was like a few years back, I was actually in pretty good shape. Like I could run between 3 to 6 miles a day. Like I could do 6 miles in under an hour. So that wasn't bad. And when I got in shape, like the difference that made on my work, the quality of work that I was doing
Yeah.
was insane. But yeah, being out of shape now, I'm like, no, nah, like you said, I gotta fix this because especially the extra hours I'm gonna have to put in on my own doing this stuff, I cannot be beat up.
Yeah, it was just on my mind right now because I was like, man, I'm feeling it more than usual, but it's because and I've been really bad about it. I just got to like schedule it better because I'll work out for like a week, but then I
Mhm.
won't work out for like another week or two, and I haven't been consistent with it. But it makes a big difference because like I don't know, guys like us, we're up on rooftops. That's a lot of exertion that you put on yourself going up a ladder,
Mhm.
being under a unit in the kitchen, stuff like that. So
Yeah,
uh,
hauling jugs up to the roof and all that stuff.
roping up everything. Oh man,
Mhm.
I'm not looking forward to that. I got a compressor change out to do, and this roof is like a unusually high roof. It's like 25 or probably more feet.
Ooh,
And I deal with like 20-foot roofs, and I was like, man, those extra couple of feet I'm really gonna feel it
you're
trying to
gonna
pull
feel
up
them.
everything.
That's when you get your your youngest brother to come help you.
Oh, he's the muscle for sure. But yeah, man, I don't know if you want to end on anything. We've been here over an hour, kind of flew by.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
dude. Appreciate being on. It was cool. Just like I tell everybody, do good work, treat people right, and that's about it.
the rest will take care of itself. And you're kind of living that right now, just making that leap because not everybody can to do their own business, their own thing. It was cool that people kind of talked you into it, man. Because like I feel like it was inevitable as well that you should have done this
Yeah,
as well. So hats off
yeah.
to you, man. It's
Thanks.
a good
Yeah.
start.
Like I said, that was the biggest thing when I had these people that are running multi-million-dollar companies. Like, bro, you need to stop working for other people. You're wasting your life. I'm like, I mean, y'all obviously know something I don't. Let's do it.
It's a nice change. I'm sure it's been good for you because yeah, like working for somebody is one thing, and then doing your own thing. And I'm not saying it's for everybody because
Mhm.
when I went to school, there was like a couple of teachers that had their own company and a couple that preferred to work for somebody,
Mhm.
and they preferred clocking in and clocking out and kind of forgetting about it because like as a business owner, you're just going to be thinking about work constantly, and you kind of have to set those boundaries, but like it's very hard. You're going to be a business owner 24/7.
See, yeah, that's
So
what I'm finding. Cause like last night I was up till probably 11:30, and I'm on LinkedIn basically DMing facilities managers and operations directors and stuff like that, just introducing myself, introducing
oh
my
yeah.
company. But then shortly after that, I get a response, "Hey, yeah, we'd love to give you a shot. Send us your rates." And I'm like, "Yeah, got to keep going." But yeah, I am trying to figure out, and setting the boundaries is obviously, different in different stages of business. Right now, I'm obviously in the hustle stage. As I
Yeah,
get
yeah.
more established, then I can be like, "Yo, this time of night, I'm turning that all off unless, an emergency call comes in or whatever." But
Oh yeah. Yeah, because like even when we started, like I had told you, we went around in person and just kind of presented ourselves, even like at a time when we were like, because you might have ups and downs. We just weren't prepared for it. So like when we lost a customer or something like that, it really hurt us. But like we went out there in person, even when we kind of needed to get more work, and you got to put yourself out there. That's the hustle period, like you said. I mean, it never really stops, but like at the beginning, I remember that being the most hectic part.
mm,
And then it kind of levels off a little bit. And then, especially if you can get the hang of it, or the quicker you can get the hang of it, um, you'll reap the benefits
mm,
afterwards. Because, like now, like you said, like we have a certain time. My dad will take like text messages after hours, but like we're not taking like real phone calls
mhm.
unless it's, well, usually it'll come through as a text or a message, emergency, whatever, or we get the emails. We can go through the emails and see if it's like an emergency type deal. But yeah, like I have my phone on certain notifications or silence after hours. Like I won't get You
Yeah.
know, I try to keep my after hours separate for family, my kids, you know, all that. So you get to, that's the cool part about it. Like I was saying earlier, some people rather just clock in and out, which is fine.
Yeah.
Some companies, you know, they will treat you good and they'll give you, you know, a good payday and all that. But some of us, you know, we like the hustle, we like the doing our own thing. I don't like being told or bossed around, so I'd rather be doing my own thing.
Oh yeah, it's a hard thing, and maybe this is something I shouldn't say, but it's hard when you're working for somebody and you're like, "Yo, I'm a lot smarter than that guy." Like that.
I was gonna say, unless, yeah, if you're working for somebody and they're not allowing you to be the best that you can be, that's another issue too. And
Mhm.
at that, you know, just go out on your own.
Yep. Cool.
All right,
Cool.
man. I appreciate you for coming on and taking the time, man. It was cool.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. Everybody watching and listening, and I appreciate you guys for coming out too. See you guys next time.